In a mentor-protege relationship, who benefits the most, the mentor or the protege? That's one of the questions we'll discuss in this edition of SC21 TV. Will you each introduce yourselves, please? Let's start with you, Levi.
Hi, I'm Levi Brown, and I am a undergraduate student at University of Oregon. And this year, I'm going to be one of the student volunteers at SC21.
Wonderful. Mike?
Hey, I'm Mike Lamb. I'm an associate professor at James Madison University. I'm in the computer science department. And this year, I am the mentor protege chair for SC21.
And Jon?
Hello, everyone. I'm Jon Calhoun. I'm an assistant professor of electrical and computer engineering at Clemson University. And this year, I am the advisor for a student cluster competition team, as well as I am hopefully will have several students who submit ACM student research competition posters and papers, workshop papers.
Well, wonderful. Well, let's go back to you, Levi, and give a shot at that question I first asked. Who benefits the most, the protege or the mentor?
I think that the protege and the mentor both benefit. As a protege, I only have that one perspective, so I can only really give my thoughts from there. But it helped me both navigating SC20 last year, which is a very new experience for me, given that it was my first year. And even beyond that, it really helped me get involved with research and just get an idea of where I wanted to go as an undergraduate. Coming into SC20 as a first-time attendee, especially in a virtual setting, it was very overwhelming. I was presented with a lot of different opportunities and areas to explore, and I didn't necessarily know how to navigate that, but now I kind of have an idea of how the whole conference is going to play out. So I know where I want to go, what I'm interested in seeing, and the stuff that I don't want to miss. And so that is extremely helpful.
Excellent. Well, Jon, let's move on to you. What's your perspective on this?
So I will have to agree with Levi. I think it benefits both the mentor and the mentee. And so I never was formally part of this when I was an undergrad, but I had a very strong undergrad mentor who, without his work and dedication, sort of fostering my knowledge and appreciation for HPC, I probably wouldn't be here. So from the student's perspective, I think this is very invaluable of just understanding what HPC is, because at most universities, students don't take any course related to parallel programming or really get any idea of what parallel programming is until they're a senior. And by that time, they are sort of thinking about jobs, thinking about going off and finishing their career. And so getting involved, especially at an early age of like freshmen or sophomores in this kind of mentoring program, helps cultivate the next generation of HPC researchers and scientists. And what I can say from the mentor's perspective is, just like from my personal experience, just thinking back to Dr. John at Arkansas State, like the impact that he had on my life, just helping me understand things, encouraging me, it was very meaningful. And so I like to think of the whole mentor-mentee program is the way that senior scientists, researchers are able to give back, help sort of cultivate the next generation, and have a great experience while doing so.
So let's bring in you, Mike. What's your perspective on this one?
Well, I'd like to second everything that Jon just said. Obviously, and from an academic perspective, it's kind of a similar situation, right? When we have students in our classes, like, the technical information flow is largely from the mentors to the proteges or mentees, but a lot of intangible benefits are also flowing the other direction in terms of fresh perspectives and fresh ideas and things like that. So I think that both parties benefit, and probably the most obvious is the proteges benefiting, but I think that it feeds into this loop of being able to improve a mentor's ability to then bring on and mentor better, even for future proteges.
So tell us how this is actually going to work this year at SC21.
Yeah, so like last year, we're going to be doing 2 rounds of mentor-protege matching for SC21. So to participate, you have to fill out our survey. So we have 2 surveys, one for mentors and one for proteges. And we are going to be doing the early matching in early September. So the deadline to participate in that program is September the 1st. We'll be sending those emails out in early September. The pairs that are matched will have an opportunity to get together that month. They'll be scheduling it on their own schedule at their own convenience, and there'll be some sort of seated discussion questions that they can use to start their discussion. Another round of suggestions will go out in October, and there'll be another meeting of the mentors and proteges that have been paired, and that will be the early start program. We will also have the regular matching that will occur in early November, and this will be sort of a second round of people who signed up after the early start to participate during the time frame of the conference itself. So we'll send out one last round of emails to all of the matches, both the ones that started early and the ones that signed up closer to the conference date in early November. And that will include suggested activities at the conference. This includes a mentor protege meetup, details to be determined, but usually it's right before the opening keynote so that the pairs can meet up and then go to the keynote together, as well as a speed mentoring session, which is actually open to anyone, not just the folks who are part of the formal mentor protege program. And again, the details will be announced a little bit closer to the conference on that.
Great. Well, let me bring in Levi again and ask you, what's your advice to people who are considering participating in this? How can they get the most out of it?
From the perspective of the mentee, I think that you should not confine your discussions and activities just to SC21, because that's where I experience the most help. Of course, Jon's help with showing me how to navigate the conference is invaluable, but we also talked about other things, how to get involved in research, where I should be looking to take my future academic goals, and just general advice for being an undergraduate student. I really think that those perspectives that he gave me really helped me going forward, and I still apply them where I am right now.
Jon, is he speaking truth here?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of our richest conversations that we had was the stuff that was unrelated to SC, just that what started off as just mentoring, like, hey, this is what SC is. There's the academic side, the industry, the networking, and professional development. And it quickly transitioned into being very tailored to what Levi was doing in his personal research. We talked about his research problem. I gave him a couple of suggestions, and he was just off and running. And moreover, we talked about what is graduate school like, what should I do graduate school, should I go into industry, how should I sort of handle everything as an undergrad, what are my next couple of years are going to look like to set myself up to success in life. And so I think not constraining, like Levi said, not constraining yourself to just what is SC, how do I get this over with, how do I make the most out of it? Well, no, SC is much more than that, and this mentor-mentee program can be much more than that. And so I think it's a valuable opportunity, and I would really like to try to continue to have a connection with Levi, just so I can sort of see where life takes him.
Great stuff. I notice you're nodding. Mike, do you want to weigh in on this as well?
Well, just in terms of long-term relationships, so the speed mentoring program that we run is kind of about breadth, exposing people to a lot of different perspectives, things you may not have considered. The mentor protege matching program focuses more on depth, matching up people who have a lot in common in terms of their interests, both personal and professional, and kind of aiming towards the possibility of developing a more long-term relationship. There are proteges that I still meet up with every year at supercomputing. And so that's the goal of this program, is to develop some deeper relationships that will continue to yield fruit even after this particular iteration of SC is over.
Well, I would like to conclude by kind of having a lightning round here, where I will just open it up to any of you, any and all of you, for a final comment or a final piece of advice.
My advice always to a first-time SC attendee is to not get overwhelmed, even though it's probably impossible to not be overwhelmed a little bit. And, find people that you can talk to. And whether it's with the Mentor Protege program or just, finding people who attend sessions that you are interested in, follow up with them and find ways to stay connected after the conference is over.
So you're up next, Levi. How do you go from not being underwhelmed, not being overwhelmed? You just simply want to be whelmed, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely overwhelming when I first saw the sort of presentation roster. There's just so much stuff, and I didn't really know a lot of what I was looking at, especially because I was pretty new to the field of HPC. I would definitely recommend coming up with a plan of attack, where you want to go. And of course, Jon helped me formulate this. He recommended some workshops that was more closer to my level and more accessible to me at where I was with my knowledge of HPC. And I would say specifically as an undergraduate attending, since there is not a huge undergraduate presence, especially in the student volunteer program, I would highly recommend taking this opportunity. It can be very difficult with undergraduate studies to attend, but the experience of going to SC20 was just invaluable, and the Mentor Protege program especially made it so special.
I have a feeling you're going to second that, Jon.
Oh, absolutely. Just thinking of my first time at SC and how overwhelmed that I felt. But one of the things that I made sure of doing was connecting with people. And the same researchers at DOE labs, at universities that I started talking to my first time at SC, I've done that every single time. I always make a point to at least say hi to everyone if we can't have a longer form conversation. So I think just making sure that you have that connections with people, or developing those connections with people, as well as like from the mentor side, just making yourself available, because this is a very enriching and rewarding activity I'm maybe a little biased coming from a university setting, but seeing the development of these proteges as coming from, like, Levi had very little knowledge of HPC, and now from what he's grown in just a year's time is truly remarkable. And so you can sort of see the development that you have, and you sort of have like you help contribute to that. And so it's very valuable from the mentor's perspective. So I would encourage, if you are on the fence about it, throw your hat into the ring, try it out. You'll definitely enjoy it.
I'll just add that we realize that everyone's travel plans are a little uncertain right now. And so part of the questions for the mentors and proteges this year are, what are your current travel plans? And we'll do our best to match in-person attendees with in-person attendees and virtual attendees with virtual attendees. This will be a best effort kind of situation, and we realize that plans change. And so we want to make sure that the ability to participate is as inclusive and wide as possible.
Mike, Jon, Levi, thank you for being with us today on this edition of SC21 TV. And to our viewers, we invite you to stay tuned for more episodes.